Hello, my random viewers, and welcome to Randomly Offensive. Today, we will be not only continuing Genetic Blessings, but concluding Genetic Blessings. And if you guys have enjoyed this story, and if you guys are still enjoying this story, please do stick around for an announcement at the end of the chapter. There might be some things you'd like to hear. Now, with that being said, thank you guys in advance, and if you've enjoyed this series, please do consider hitting the like and subscribe button, and without further ado, let's continue Genetic Blessings in today's conclusion. Jasmine has fallen to the ground in pain as she squeezes. Her chest collapsed on the ground, now curling herself up in a ball as she screams and cries, with the god orb producing such a tremendous amount of pain that she could never have imagined, and a physical pain that she has never been forced to endure, with the god orb placing the power of every single genetic blessing within her, and her brain becomes overloaded as her head begins to ache far worse than any migraine, as the god orb itself inserts an endless amount of knowledge, more knowledge than any human can handle, with Jasmine being on the brink of death just by consuming this orb. She begins to become terrified that she may die before ever being able to use the god orb for the mere purpose that they had sent out to obtain it in the first place. With the chief staring at Jasmine, who is curled up in the fetal position out of pain, the chief then sends a glare towards Vince. "What have you done, Vince? What have you done?" roars the chief, continuing trying to speak despite of the right side of his face missing all of his flesh, with Vince staring back at the chief with pride and sadness combined. "I have done what is necessary. I have allowed Jasmine the fate that she so desired. I have beaten you. I have allowed Jasmine to beat you. And to answer your question simply, old man, it's like I said before. You can only blame yourself for everything. Anything that happens from this point on is your fault," retorts Vince with no sentiment towards the chief, with Vince standing in the middle of Abraham, Al, Alex, and the chief. Vince quickly realizes that he is not only receiving glares from the chief, but he's receiving glares from Abraham, Al, and Alex, as he sees Al, who's glaring at him with an extreme amount of hatred. "Do you have something to say, Al?" "I don't have anything to say to you, Vince. The only thing I wish for you to know is that I blame you for everything that's about to happen." "Well, I find that unfair, Al. I am not throwing Jasmine into the wolves. I am not sacrificing Jasmine. I'm providing her with the fate that she asked for." "Yeah, and in your words, you're allowing her to win? From what I can tell, you're not allowing anybody to do anything. You lacked the strength, or at least the mental discipline, to do what you claimed you were gonna do in the first place, says Al, with Vince looking down at his feet, knowing that Alex and Abraham will not understand. They will not ever understand. As Vince looks back up at the chief, Abraham puts his hand on Vince's shoulder. My dear boy, I would consider a plan B, because Jasmine doesn't look to be doing very well right now. Look at her. She's curled up in a ball. Do you think she's going to be very effective in battle if she's in too much pain to even stand on her own 2 feet? I know exactly what is about to happen. Jasmine is the warrior. Jasmine is the soldier. But she is also a broken soul. A broken soul trying to swim back into an ocean of sobriety. An ocean of righteousness. An ocean that is not trying to swallow her up and spit her out like trash. This was the only way, says Vince, with the chief still glaring at Vince, not caring about the well-being of Jasmine, not caring about the moral dilemmas or moral questions of all this insanity, but being engulfed in pure anger for Vince doing the one thing that is going to destroy his plan, and the one thing that could kill him. And all the chief can do is stare at Vince. Because even though Jasmine seems to be weak, even though Jasmine seems to be in pain, the first few minutes of a person containing the God Orb is when they are at their strongest. And there's no way he's going to be able to wait 5 or 6 years like he did with Dracula. He is going to have to take care of this now, but he doesn't know how. And so all he can do is stare at Vince, for he is too frightened to strike Jasmine. However, this fear, this anger, this disappointment, this rage is too much for the chief to handle as he finally lashes out, screaming, Vince Caballero, I will finally put an end to your pathetic, miserable, egotistical, trash-like substance that you call a life! Screams the chief as he forms a large diamond spear and hurls it at Vince, with it aiming directly towards his chest, with Vince's force field not standing a chance against it. And with Vince knowing that his force field will not hold up, he closes his eyes, waiting for it to pierce his chest, waiting for his death, for he is truly confident that Jasmine can take care of the chief, and he's truly confident that Al, Abraham, Alex, and the rest will be able to handle this war. He then realizes that he feels no pain as he opens his eyes, and there is a large wall of ice that the spear has stabbed itself into, protecting Vince as he looks around the ice with everyone else doing the same. Jasmine is behind the chief, standing on her 2 feet with her hand planted on the ground, with frost coming off the top of her hand, looking at Vince with a look telling him that he was welcome for her saving his life, as she then stands up tall with the chief turning around and looking at her. I do believe that was Frost's ability, was it not? says the chief, with Jasmine looking at Alex. I need you to go inside, Alex. Vince will never forgive me if I let any harm come to you, says Jasmine, with Alex nodding her head and quickly running into the hideout. Jasmine places one hand upon it and sends out a golden force field, the exact same force field that Vince had once used, and covers the hideout. Is that it? You're just gonna use other genetic blessings? You're gonna use genetic blessings that you already know exist? You're not gonna have any imagination behind it, are you? Continues the chief as he still struggles to speak, with Jasmine looking at him. I've never been a very imaginative person or a very creative person. You never allowed me to have that growing up, says Jasmine, continuing staring at him. My only passion are knives. I do enjoy a good blade, and I love collecting them. But if you think that me having to rely on genetic blessings that I have experienced is something that is going to cause you to have the upper hand, you are strongly mistaken, Chief. Do you realize how many genetic blessings I've killed? Do you know how many genetic blessings I have experienced? How many genetic blessings I have been forced to fight? Because I have no idea. I've lost count. I have killed hundreds, maybe even thousands, and I have experienced the equal amount of their abilities. And I remember every single one. Just because I don't have a number doesn't mean I don't remember them, says Jasmine, with Al sitting on the ground, but not gently, as he plops himself down. Well, that's it then. We just wait for Jasmine and the chief to kill themselves, is that it? Says Al, as he has obviously given up all hope, with Abraham looking at Al. Now, dear boy, get back on your feet. There's a very good chance that she may need our help. And if she does, do you really want to be sitting upon your bottom? Says Abraham, with Vince putting his hand out towards Abraham. No, Al is right, and you are wrong. Jasmine will not need our help any further. Unlike Al, I'm not going to sit down in self-pity. I'm going to stand and watch her become victorious, and I will be there to applaud her victory and congratulate her on finally achieving her own goal. So, though Abraham is wrong, Al, stand up and show your woman some respect. Stand on your feet in support, and when she's victorious, when the outcome that she desires is at her grasp, you will congratulate her, says Vince, with Al looking up at him, glaring, not wanting to stand up because Vince told him to, but also knowing that Vince is right. Al then stands up and looks at Jasmine, though Jasmine is not looking back, as the chief and Jasmine are locked in each other's sight as they stand only a few feet away from each other, just staring at each other as if they were trying to read each other's minds, as if they were trying to collect some type of data. Abraham, Vince, and Al stand to support her, with Jasmine taking the first step towards the chief, the first step that is going to be the pathway to her own demise, yet at the same time, the first step to her pathway to finally escape the life that she has hated, the life that doesn't allow her to look herself in the mirror, doesn't allow her to forgive herself, doesn't allow her to sleep. That first step to right her wrongs, and it feels terrifying, but it also feels so good as she covers her body in iron and strikes the chief with a right hook. With that right hook having more than just power behind it, but raw emotion as it cracks the diamond plating of the chief. The chief then goes to sweep kick her leg as a rock comes out of the ground, blocking his kick. She then brings her left arm down as it bulges into pure massive muscle and uppercuts the chief, cracking the diamond plating even more, with the chief then trying to create a pool of wind to blow her away. She begins to manipulate heat, just like Abraham, as the heat engulfs the air, creating a pocket, burning the chief even more. Jasmine reaches out towards all the trees in the forest as they begin to move and grow, and the branches extend out, wrapping around the chief, squeezing him. Though he's able to break them easily, it has given Jasmine enough time to form a force field ball that is tight and compact as she chucks it at the chief, with it igniting an amazingly large explosion for her first time ever doing anything of that nature, sending the chief flying across, with the branches flying towards Al, Vince, and Abraham, with Vince gently putting his hand on the shoulder of Al, covering Al in a force field, protecting him from all the debris flying towards him. As the debris smashes against the force field, Al looks at Vince to nod his head in appreciation, though when he looks at Vince, he sees a tear running down Vince's cheek, with Al realizing that Vince is not okay with this. He is having a tough time with it, but unlike himself, Vince will not show his emotion. He will not show his sadness, and Al then begins to feel guilt for being so self-involved, so self-centered, to not even think about what's right for Jasmine. And so the chief charges back towards Jasmine, creating a large blade of diamond, and when he swings it at her, it goes through her as if she's nothing more than a mirage, as she then forms her body into iron once again, and connecting a blow to his chest, cracking the diamond plating more. He swings at her once again, but just like before, it goes through her as if she is nothing more than a mirage, with Jasmine then forming a fireball in her right hand and forming ice in her left hand. She begins freezing and heating the diamond at the same time, with the diamond becoming a crust around the chief, not allowing him to be able to move freely. He forces the diamond plating to cease, with Jasmine then turning her body into one of the weirdest looking things as she combines the diamond plating, the iron plating, Vince's force field, Abraham's heat manipulation. Her body begins to glow a dark green with the combination as she then charges towards the chief, with the chief forming a pocket of air around his fist and striking one last time. He sees a hint of Caroline. "What are your greatest fears?" says Jasmine. As she extends her hand and grabs the chief by his skull, and a golden light comes from Jasmine, allowing Jasmine, with the strength that Caroline did not have, to see into the chief's greatest fears. But due to the way Caroline's genetic blessing works, she also had to feel the chief's pain and his passions, his desires, and then she feels the chief's greatest fear as she lets go of the chief, and with the chief being forced to go through all of his passions, all his desires, all his pains and hurt, and all his fear, with Jasmine consuming it all, they both fall to their knees in tears, with Jasmine looking at the chief, not being able to handle the pain that the chief has felt all these years, the pain the chief had to go through watching his wife pass away, watching his children pass away, watching his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren and the children of them all pass away, all his friends, and the betrayal that he felt by his good friend Count Dracula brings so much pain. And not even that, but the countless amount of years he had been forced to fend off those he had deemed as evil, and the lives he had lost to accomplish that goal. Jasmine can barely bear it as she looks sad at the chief, with her then standing up and forming a blade into her hand, grabbing the chief by his throat. With tears running down her face, Al stares at Jasmine, at the sadness he sees in her face, the pain, the sorrow, and he begins to run towards Jasmine, with Vince hollering at him, "What the hell are you doing, Al? Get back here, Al!" yells Vince. However, Al ignores him as he runs towards Jasmine and wraps his arms around her, not allowing her to bring the blade down upon the chief. Jasmine, don't you do it. Do not do it. Do you? You know the reasoning behind what you're doing today, right? You know the reason why you're deciding to die today. You know what you're escaping from, don't you? Says Al, with Jasmine looking at him. Of course I do, Al, but this is what's necessary. Then don't do what's necessary, responds Al. If killing the chief is what is necessary, then don't do what is necessary. Doing what's necessary is what has caused you this pain. It is what's brought you this pain. You told me that this is your chance for redemption. You told me that this is your chance to right your wrongs. How the hell are you gonna do that? By repeating those wrongs once again, making that your final action, Jasmine. With Jasmine listening to Al, she begins to let go of the chief. Then what will you have me do? What would you have me do, Al? It's simple, Jasmine, responds Al. Do what is right. Don't do what's necessary. Don't do what Vince wants you to do. Don't do what the chief wants you to do. Don't do what the world wants you to do. Don't do what's necessary. Do what is right, responds Al as he holds Jasmine's hands, with Jasmine nodding her head and walking to the chief, getting ready to use every ounce of the power given to her from the God Orb. She gently places her hand on the shoulder of the chief, who has given up and can't even give himself the strength to stand on his own 2 feet, with her looking at him with the sadness that she had felt from his own pain. And the Guardian then appears next to Jasmine and the chief as he gently places his hand on her hand, with them both having their hands on the shoulder of the chief. The Guardian looks at Jasmine. I know what you are about to do, Jasmine, and once you have done it, you will no longer be with your friends. You will no longer be on this earth. So, before you do what I know you are about to do, I suggest you say your final goodbyes. That is, if you are ready, if you truly want to do this, says the Guardian, with Jasmine still looking at the chief. I am ready. I am ready to do this, says Jasmine. And so she begins speaking to her friends, though not face to face, but through their thoughts, as she begins to speak to Vince. Vince, I hold nothing against you. I don't blame you for anything. And I know that you struggle with the same things I struggle with. You try to put on a strong facade and you try to seem invincible, but you and I both know you're not. And I need you to make sure that you keep yourself happy. Make sure you give yourself a little bit of time to be happy so that you don't end up like me. Those are my final words to you, Vince. She then goes to Al, with Vince not knowing how to respond. Jasmine continues speaking to Al. Al, thank you for what you have just done, and thank you for showing me that there are people out there that honestly do give a shit. There are people out there that want to do what's right. There are people out there that make this world worth living. And so, I want to thank you for coming into my life and allowing me to live long enough to do what I finally need to do. And don't you ever lose hope in humanity, says Jasmine, with Al looking at her. You have my word, Jasmine. I'll never give up. And you're welcome, says Al, with Jasmine's final goodbye being for Alex, with Alex hurled up in a corner. Alex, kid, says Jasmine, confusing Alex for a moment. I need you to protect Vince and Al. Vince, without you, will end up like me. And Al, without you, will end up losing faith. He will end up losing hope. But while you're protecting those two men, you do not allow them to put you in harm's way. Do not allow yourself to be hurt. And when this war is over, when the battle between genetic blessings and humanity is finally over, you go and live your best life, and don't you let society or anything tell you the way to live. You get me on that? Do you understand me on that, Alex? Says Jasmine, with Alex wiping tears off her face. Yeah, I get you. I understand you. There's one more thing I have to say, Alex. I know Vince has no idea, but thank you for getting those kids out of the orphanage. Thank you for sending that distress call. You saved a lot of lives that day, says Jasmine, with Alex nodding her head. Yeah, no problem. With Jasmine then looking at the Guardian. Alright. It's time, says Jasmine, with the Guardian nodding his head, still keeping his hand gently on top of Jasmine's, with them both holding the shoulder of the chief, with the Guardian kneeling down to the chief. Chief, my old friend, Von Helsing, this is what I intended. This was my plan. I had no other way, for I'm not allowed to get involved, nor am I able to consume the God Orb ever again. So, though I have not given up on my dreams, though I have not given up on my ambitions to make this world full of genetic blessings and ruling it myself, I want you to know that I love you as a brother, and I am truly sorry for what I had put you through, and it is going to be made right. Everything you had gone through is about to pay off. And one more time, my dear friend, I am sorry, says the Guardian, with the chief being completely zoned out and broken beyond repair, just keeps staring into nowhere as he remains lying on his knees, broken. Jasmine then presses on the chief's shoulders with a bright light coming from both of them, and just like that, Jasmine, the Guardian, and the chief are no more, with Vince and Al staring at where Jasmine once was in silence tears begin running down Vince's face, even though he's trying to hold them back. There is no way that he can keep the tears in without feeling heartbroken, is proud of what Jasmine had done, and finally understands what she needed to do. The chief then wakes up, but he does not awake in the body of the old man that he once was just a few seconds ago, but instead he wakes up as a young man in the body he had when he was Von Helsing. And as he looks around, he realizes that he is in the home that he shared with his family, the home he had before the betrayal of Dracula. And he hears his wife calling out to him, and he quickly runs to her voice. As he swings open the door to one of the bedrooms, he sees his wife and his children standing there, smiling at him as he quickly embraces his family, covered in tears, and he begins living his life with his family. However, unlike the reality of before, there are no signs of genetic blessings, or vampires, or Count Dracula, or Dr. Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but just him and his family and his friends. As he begins living a normal life, he gets to watch his children grow, and gets to watch the birth of his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren as he grows in age with his wife, getting to live the life that he was never given, not knowing what Jasmine had done, but not caring, for he finally has his family back. With Jasmine standing in the Golden White Temple with the Guardian. "So," says the Guardian, "you had put him in a prison. An eternal prison where he gets to live the life that he had always wanted. Very sweet of you, but I hope you know it is nothing more than a simulation. And every time he dies, it will start over. He will live this life, this false, fake life, this simulation, over and over for all of eternity," says the Guardian, with Jasmine looking at him. "You say that like it's a bad thing." "It very well might be. Sure, it's gonna make him happy for now, and it could possibly make him happy forever. But how long do you think it'll take before he realizes that it is all fake?" "Well, hopefully it takes eternity," says Jasmine with a smirk, with the Guardian smirking back. "Well, you used up everything you had to pull it off, so it is time," says the Guardian, as he extends his arm out, pointing to a tunnel with a bright light at the end of it, with Jasmine nodding her head and looking at the Guardian one last time. "I do have one last thing that I want to say to you. Very well. What would that be? I did the right thing. The chief is happy. And if he ends up becoming unhappy with the life I'd given him, that is no longer on me. And one more thing, if I may. You may. Vince and Al will defeat you. They will not allow you to rule this earth. They will not allow you to eradicate all of human life. And I hope you are prepared for a hell of a battle. And I hope you are prepared. That is enough, says the Guardian. You have used up everything. You are no longer alive, Jasmine. You are dead. Now hurry up and go before your soul is forced to wander this world endlessly, says the Guardian, with Jasmine nodding her head, and walks into the tunnel and disappears into the bright light to where she can finally sleep. 9 days have passed since the disappearance and the passing of Jasmine and the defeat of the chief, with their victory seeming hollow yet sweet at the same time, not knowing where the God Orb had gone. But neither Vince or Al truly care, for they both hope that they will never have to use it ever again. And Vince has been working diligently and sleeping only an hour at a time, putting together the perfect plan to start the perfect war so that Jasmine's sacrifice will not be in vain, with Al and Alex mourning the loss of their close friend, with Abraham, Howard, and Zorg hanging around the hideout seemingly for no reason. Vince finally calls every single one of them into the main room of the hideout. Alrighty. Al, Alex, Howard, Zorg, and my dear friend Abraham, it is time. It is time to start the biggest war that this world has ever seen. It is time to take the very first step in ensuring that genetic blessings and humanity will coexist. And it is time to ensure that Jasmine did not die for no reason. So, listen up and listen up well. The first step we will be taking will be Al and I joining opposite sides. Logically, I will be on the side of the genetic blessings. My name has become notorious, and there are few genetic blessings that will challenge me when it comes to leadership, and so I will be head of command on that side. Especially since the majority of genetic blessings are either unknown or a part of some type of criminal organization. With that being said, Al, you will have a little bit of a tougher time climbing the ranks on the human side. You will have to encounter many establishments and militaries and armies that go off of ranks and ranks alone. However, the Guardian granted you the Blade of Excalibur. It is seen as a holy artifact. It is also seen as a blade that chooses the worthiest handler, the mightiest handler, the holiest handler, a man worthy to lead. We must prove, somehow, that sword of yours truly is Excalibur. Not only that, but if you return to the police department that you once worked for and confront the chief about all things that you have done, all the genetic blessings you have slaughtered, and provide them with the card that you have showing that you are part of the GBA, you will climb the ranks quite fast. You will become one of the main players, says Vince, with Howard scratching his head. Now you hold on a daggum second. Why the hell are you splitting us up to fight on opposite sides? That makes no sense whatsoever, son. It makes perfect sense, says Vince, with Alex putting her hand out towards Vince. The plan here, Howard, is Vince is going to lead the genetic blessing side, with Al getting as close as he can to leading the human side. With Al and Vince being the two main leaders in this war on opposite sides, they will be able to coordinate with each other. Well, that does make quite a bit of sense. Interludes, Abraham. I can understand the plan that you have developed, Vince and Alex. It's simple, Howard. Every time the side of the genetic blessings begin to take the advantage, the upper hand, every time it looks like they may actually begin winning the war, Vince can inform Al of their strategic maneuvers, of what they're about to do next. And so Al can then act accordingly. And vice versa. The second the human race starts getting the upper hand, Al will share information with Vince, so that Vince too can act accordingly. Basically, you plan on sabotaging your own side, while Al does the same, forcing this war to end in a stalemate or never end at all. And of course it will end. War does have a heavy toll on one's soul, and the world can only endure it for so long. We are bound to coexist eventually, says Abraham, with Howard nodding his head. Alrighty, well that makes a lot of sense. If Al can actually pull it off, I intend on pulling it off, Howard. Jasmine died for this, so yeah, I'm gonna do it. Me being the wielder of Excalibur, and having proof that I was a part of the GBA, I'll be able to skip a lot of the shit that you have to do in order to climb the ranks. So, now that that's explained, now that that's out of the way, what else? What else do you got for us, Vince? What plan have you and Alex concocted to make the perfect war, because just you and I doing that? That's not gonna work, buddy. We need more, says Al, with Vince nodding his head and pulling a cigarette out of a carton and lighting it up. Yes, of course, Al. You and I will not be enough. Howard, Abraham, Zorg, and Alex are going to be their own team. They're going to be the gray area. They're going to be the team without a side. They are going to protect all those who cannot protect themselves during this war. And by having a team made of genetic blessings and humans protecting third world countries, the poorer cities of other countries, and those who simply don't have the strength to fight, word will quickly spread that humans and genetic blessings have sided with one another to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And of course, all those colonizations will then side with that team, regardless of whether or not they are humans or genetic blessings. They will start their own army with no bias, with no judgments on either side, and the coexistence between the two will truly begin with the team of Abraham, Howard, Zorg, and Alex, and it'll be all downhill from there. However, there's one part of the plan that I have not discussed with you. The beginning of the war. There is one thing that I have left out that none of you will like, but we must start the world's biggest war, and I've thought of a way to do that, and you guys are gonna tell me that I am wrong. You know what, Vince? I could care less. Like I said before, Jasmine died for this, and so I'm gonna see it through to the end. Yeah, we're already pretty deep into this shit, and if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, so tell me, son, what do you have planned? Quite. I agree with Howard and Al. We're not gonna disagree with you on this one, Vince. We understand that bad shit's going to go down. We understand that innocent people are going to die. So, tell us, how do you plan on starting this war of yours? I am going to blow up the White House and then broadcast myself worldwide using Alex's skills and talents, and by doing so, the war will begin. However, will not begin immediately. People will panic, and government will begin trying to find genetic blessings. Camps will begin to open. Genetic blessings will be held in those camps, and many genetic blessings will be either tortured and studied upon or killed on sight until the majority of genetic blessings have had enough. And that is when the war will truly begin. Blowing up the White House. That is Intense, my friend, but necessary, responds Abraham, with Al grasping the handle of Excalibur. Alright, you give us a time, and we'll commence this plan of yours, says Al, with Vince sitting down on a chair, lighting up another cigarette. Well, alright. Let's do it. And so the day has come for Vince to start the biggest war the world has ever seen, with all of humanity siding with each other to eradicate all genetic blessings, as the world has been split into two. As Vince stands at the gate of the White House, he forms a golden force-filled ball as he hurls it towards the White House, with the force-filled ball igniting in a massive explosion as it blows the White House to bits, creating the darkest moment, the darkest hour of all American history, of world history, with Al walking into the old police department in Nevada, as he looks at the chief of the police department holding the blade of Excalibur and throwing down the GBA card onto his desk, with Alex getting onto her computer, getting ready to broadcast Vince Caballero, while Howard, Abraham, and Zorg prepare a small laboratory so that they can operate the team that they are meant to be, to protect all of those who are incapable of protecting themselves. And every TV, every screen in the entire world displays Vince Caballero sitting on a throne, holding a golden force-filled ball. Attention all people. Attention every human being on this planet. My name is Vince Caballero. I am a genetic blessing. I am the one that blew up the White House, and I will not stop at that. I will bring down terror. I will rain down pain and horror upon every single one of you. For my kind, known as the genetic blessings, has been hunted and slaughtered for thousands of years. And we have had enough. Today, wage war. I declare war on all of humanity and any genetic blessing that feels the need to stand up and fight. Join me. Join me now, says Vince, with every screen shutting off, causing a worldwide panic, and the genetic blessings have begun their war with humanity, and so genetic blessings has come to an end, and we will be beginning genetic wars and continuing the story However, if you guys want to find out when, stay tuned for just a few seconds and I have an announcement. And that is the conclusion to Genetic Blessings, and I will be continuing the story in Genetic Wars. It'll be probably about just as long as this series, so if you're interested, absolutely keep your eye out for that. However, you are not going to be hearing from me for a while because I have to put together a script for Genetic Wars. I have not put together a script for it. I have ideas, but I need to figure out exactly where it's going to go, and I have to make sure that I deliver on the character arc development, and I have to make sure I deliver on the story itself, especially since it is going to be continuing this, which was basically one long origin story, so I gotta make it worth your time, right? I'm sure you would all agree. So with that being said, not only have I not written a script for Genetic Wars, I'm going to have to work on a script for that series. I also have much more President work that I need to focus on. I have a commercial I need to make for Silver Therapy. I have a workout movie I need to make for Fire Vinyasa. I have an interview I have to edit and a digital menu board that I have to make. And so once I'm done with all that, then I can come back and tell Genetic Wars and continue this story. I'm thinking a month or so is probably when you guys will hear from me next. If I can make it earlier, I absolutely will, because I loved telling this story, and I loved finishing it, and I'm sad that Genetic Blessings is over, but I'm so happy that I get to start Genetic Wars. And though I don't have a whole lot of subscribers and I don't have a whole lot of viewers on this, I have noticed that the people that are watching these are consistently watching these, and I want to say there's about 30 to 40 of you guys that watch on a regular basis for Genetic Blessings, and I appreciate every single one of you. It means a lot to me, it really does. And so, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching all my Genetic Blessings. Thank you so much for everything. This is really what I want to do, and there is just nothing better than being able to tell these stories and bring them to life. So, with that being said, take care of yourselves, do not get hit by a meteor, and bye.